Welcome to another edition of Design for the Times. I'm your host, Richard Christopher Scuderi. I'm very happy to have in studio someone that I met, believe it or not, yesterday at a barbecue, kind of a glamorous barbecue over at Sub-Zero Wolf. And her name is Jessica. I'm going to get this right because I'm a Paisan too. Jessica Della Buono. Very
That's
nice
right.
Italian name. Welcome to Design for the Times.
Thank you so much for having me.
So our topic today is something that seems to come up all the time, and that is kitchen design and the fashion of kitchens. And I think people are intrigued by kitchens because I think style has changed so much, don't you? Like even in the past 5 years, things are more modern, they are cleaner, the colors are so different. I think people are confused, and even people that did, maybe they had a last house 8 years ago, 9 years ago, were a little bit more maybe traditional, but styles have changed so much. I think people are confused, so they're coming to showrooms, they're coming to places where people that know the latest trends, such as yourself, can advise them on what to do. So tell us a little about the company, Signature Kitchens, where you're located. Tell us about your background.
Okay, Signature Kitchens is a family-owned and operated company.
Okay.
We have 2 locations.
All right.
One is in Hawthorne, New Jersey.
So Hawthorne is Bergen County.
It's close to Bergen County. Most of the work that we do actually is in Bergen County. We're on the border.
Okay. So it's Bergen and what would it be?
It's Passaic. Bergen and Passaic.
That's right. Okay, sure.
Which is pretty far north, North Jersey. And we opened 5 years ago a second showroom in Point Pleasant. So in the shore towns, basically, is where
I would be
we
saying,
can work down there.
okay, Mom and Dad, I'll do the summers at the shore.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I spend time in both locations.
Sure, that's nice. Do you find because we're in a small state, but because you're down the shore, that the aesthetic there is different than North Jersey, which may be closer to New York, and well, it is closer to New York, but maybe a little bit more cosmopolitan? Are people picking different things because they live in different locations?
Yes,
Okay.
there's definitely more of a beachy accent
Coastal,
down to the shore. While white across the board is popular, down the shore areas, it's even more so.
More popular, yeah.
I'd say white is almost 10 out of 10
standard.
for the kitchens that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the shore.
You know what's funny? Early on, like in the 90s, up to 2000, people liked white cabinets, but they had the thermofoil cabinets. They weren't the quality white cabinets they have today. So it's weird how things are secular. They come around, but they're also reinvented.
Right, the materials are better than they were.
Exactly.
Colors are maybe looping around, but different materials, right?
So I think we're in a period of time too, and I see this with the bathrooms that I work on, that white and gray and clean, whether it's traditional, transitional, or contemporary, continue to flow, maybe now with pops. Tell me what you're seeing. What are people asking you for? You're at the front line. When people come into you, Jessica, did most people have an idea what they want? Do they come in with a folder full of magazines? What do they come in to see you guys? What do they have in their arsenal?
I'd say it's 50-50. A lot of people don't know what they want until they see it.
Okay.
So we just have to help guide them there, show them a lot of different things. And based on their reaction to seeing certain things, I help them find
you sort
what
of
they
then
like.
sort of pick their taste.
Right.
Because I say a lot of what we do is also about psychology. And then you see how people react to things, and then you can sort of build a profile for them. Because again, some people don't know what they want at all.
Right.
So now I haven't been to either one of your locations. Are they sort of showrooms with cabinet setups? How is that?
They are. They're both of them are showrooms with cabinet setups.
Okay.
And we purposely spend a lot of time mapping them out each showroom, so that we're showing all different styles and color combinations to give people so they can see it in person. A lot of different ideas, and they might say, I like that display, I don't like that display, and that helps me start them on the right path to what style and what kind of design they're going to want.
Exactly. So it starts pretty much at the showroom. You have them walk around, get some ideas. You don't have all those Pinterest printed out social media stuff?
We do, but we don't not print it out. So we have a huge profile of all the kitchens and jobs that we do. We save them, and we look through all the photos of different styles and ideas, and it's really helpful because that also helps me. I watch people's reactions. I see what they like and what they don't like, and help guide them. I also have to explain what different styles, what it's like living with different styles functionally too.
Maintenance
and everything. So that all the time helps me determine what they're going to want to live with too.
Now, because you have the opportunity to see kind of everything, and again, we met last night at Wolf Sub-Zero, and they were a guest about 2 weeks ago on the show here. We get to see the best of the best, and sometimes we see things before the general public sees it. So you have a wealth of knowledge already. So what would you say your personal bests are? What are the things that you see out there that you particularly like? You're going to do, little birdie told me that you're going to do a little renovation yourself.
Correct.
Personally. Yeah. So what are you picking? What does Jessica say? Wow, I'm young, I'm savvy, I know the business. What things appeal to you in a kitchen?
Well, I think that it's very important that the style goes with the home. First
oh my God!
So
first rule of thumb: architecture. Don't have an Italian lacquer kitchen in a center hall colonial.
Right. So
for sure.
Even if a modern kitchen, I really love the style.
Oh, beautiful!
I appreciate
Right.
it, but there's there's certain homes that I wouldn't put it in. So I think that's a very important starting line.
Sure.
I would say that a simple door style is never going to go out of style.
And by simple storage style, would you say shaker per se?
Shaker or variation of a shaker, a recessed panel door.
Right.
And if you stick with something like that, you can't go wrong.
And I think it lasts the test of time. I'll tell you, my dad built our house in 1970, right, a million years ago. But when they sold the house about 3 years ago, he did a very simple profile on the cabinet. It was a wood stain, but it wasn't too light or too dark, and it was in the middle. And do you know what? It sold with those originally very well-built custom cabinets because it stands the test of time.
Right.
So I think you're very right that a simpler profile will stand the test of time.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about painted finishes as opposed to stained finishes?
Stained finishes?
Yeah.
Once again, I think it's about the home and what's going to work with everything else in the home. If your house has white woodworking and white trim on the doorways and the windows, maybe a white cabinet to kind of continue that look.
Right.
Also depends on what floor you're doing.
Sure.
So if there are wood floors throughout the whole house and dark stained wood floors throughout the kitchen also, it could be difficult to find a stain that's not going to clash with those wood floors.
Exactly.
And white and wood are beautiful together because a wood tone warms a white cabinet. Could be very cold if you have white everywhere. So if you have some warmth in the wood with the white cabinetry, that's beautiful together. Yeah. There's a lot of different combinations.
You know what? I think it's about design in general, not just kitchen design, but in sense of in design, there's a sense of balance. So people often come to me and they have all these great ideas. I want this, I want that, with that, but they don't know how to bring them together. And what you do, or what we do collectively in our business, is we create a palette of balanced surfaces. So it's just like dressing. So you're dressed today and everything is balanced. So if you had, black jewelry, black everything, or dark blue altogether, you wouldn't appreciate the balance. It's the same thing with dressing your room. And a critical thing in doing a kitchen is from the floor up. So I say to people when they're going to do their kitchen, if they already have hardwood floors, I personally like hardwood floors in the kitchen, not everybody does, but if your whole house is hardwood floors, go with that. And if you have a hardwood floor, you don't want to have a stained floor finish with a stained cabinet finish, unless there's a big contrast. But for the most part, I don't personally care for that. I think that's an opportunity.
It's very difficult to make that look
good. Because if they're too similar, it just doesn't look right. And if they're too opposite, it doesn't look right either. So for most part, if I have hardwood floors in a space, then I would say this is an opportunity to bring a little bit of color in. Let's do a painted cabinet. Would you agree with that?
And that doesn't have to mean a stark white. It could be an off-white or a warm cream tone.
How about even gray?
A gray would be great too.
I love it. Speaking of gray cabinets, so I'd like to hold this up, and I'm told I need to hold this up high, so I'm going to do that, and I'm a tall guy, so I'm going to say, this is a cabinet that you brought in today. See here that it's
maple.
Yes, it's a beautiful maple cabinet. The color is called Storm, and there's no glaze on this. Now, what I would say about this, from my observation, this is what I would call a grayish, where it's a combination of brown and gray together. It's not sort of a solid gray, which I think is very nice because it's accommodating to a lot of different surfaces. Now, with a cabinet like this, with a grayish, you could pair this with a white or a warm white or an off-white cabinet, and I think it would work well together. Maybe we did the island in something like this. Perhaps?
That's actually I'll tell you what that's for. Actually, I picked that and another option for clients in Point Pleasant.
Okay.
And I have a floor that is potentially we might use for them also.
Sure.
But that is planned to be the peninsula, which is a really long peninsula, kind of 7 stools across.
Sure,
open
wow,
concept.
big.
So when you walk in, that's the color that you see on the bottom, and panel on the back. And then there's just open shelving on one wall, which I'd like to do in white to air it out a little bit.
Sure.
And then the back pantry wall is going to be in white also.
Nice.
So that's not meant to be everywhere.
No.
It's just an accent.
I think some of the stained cabinets, especially the darker ones, you need sort of a relief to the eye, right? Because if you have a big row of dark cabinets, that could be sort of taking light away from the space. And I would imagine when you're designing a kitchen, you want to take things like the amount of light in the space, the exposure. Is it open to other rooms? Is it closed off to other rooms? There's a lot that factors into that.
There's a lot that factor in.
So let's go back to floors a little bit. So in doing the kitchen, we start with the floors. We have a dark wood floor or even a middle tone hardwood floor. Probably we're going to do some painted cabinet or a combination of paint and stained to break it up a little bit. If you were going into a space and they came to you for tile, because you brought a tile, I think I chipped it on the way, but we'll put that up as well. If you do tile, is there a specific profile today that you like for tile? Shape, size, color, and so on?
Shape of tile, size. I am a big fan of wood planking, the wood planking look, which we do have here with us. If it's difficult, though, if you have wood in the rest of your house.
That is something I have to speak to. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to lift this up, and I did drop it in the parking lot, so I apologize. Their stuff is perfect.
So this is not the wood planking.
No,
this is another option.
This is another option.
If they decide to stick with wood floors throughout the rest of the house, this was the option to go with that.
Sure.
It's a porcelain tile, which means that maintenance is great. Very durable unless you drop it and chip it, but that doesn't happen once it's installed.
Once it's installed, that doesn't happen.
Once it's installed,
exactly.
It's very durable, and it's neutral. It's neutral, but it has a little bit of a variation in it, so it's not just too plain.
Correct. One of the things you want to keep in mind if you're going with a tile surface or a non-wood surface in a kitchen, you want it to at least have some texture because texture prevents from seeing crumbs. About 20 years ago, I had a client that moved down to Florida, and I said, "How do you like your new place?" She goes, "Oh, I had nothing to do with it." She said, "I made a big mistake. I did a pure white tile floor and a speck of dust, pepper. If you putting pepper on stuff, you could see it. Yeah. So it's very important, even if you have a light floor, is that floor has a little bit of striations or something going on to it. Number one, it makes it look more like natural stone, right?
Correct.
And then number two, it just is easier for maintenance and cleaning. So I would say for me, in a perfect world, I would have hardwood floors throughout my whole first floor because the visual line from other rooms, the continuity makes the space seem bigger, I think. Big in continuity. But if I had a situation where I didn't have that, there was a change of grade, I couldn't make that work, and I was going to do a ceramic tile or a certain kind of tile, I probably would go with the shape you said, a larger tile, right, which I think is more in style, and something that's linear.
Right, that was a 12 by 24, the one you held up.
Lovely, right? And linear, less grout, less maintenance, something that has a little texture to it, a little tooth, so it's also safer and it's not so hard to walk on. What about incorporating with a tile like this some sort of a heating element underneath?
That's a popular option too.
Yeah. I just think that tile is an opportunity to create that, and then you have warm under your feet when you're having your coffee in the morning.
Sometimes that's a good solution to, depending on how the renovation transforms.
Sure.
If a wall's being knocked down where you had a heating element in, now that heating element's coming out. If it's difficult to relocate that, sometimes it can be relocated in a toe kick. But if there aren't cabinetry, if there's no cabinetry there, adding the heat on the floor is really that's a great solution.
Yeah, no, it's true. So I very much my first choice would always be hardwood if it's throughout the rest of the house. The issue that I have, and you had already brought this up, the issue I had, I just did a restaurant over in New Providence, New Jersey, and we did a beautiful sort of grayish tone tile throughout the space. It looks like wood. It's not butting up against wood. It's in a hotel, so the hotel is all carpeting. So this space, wood wouldn't have worked for them practically. But this space, which is a tile that looks very much like a weathered wood, is perfect for them. But if this was backing up against wood, I don't like tile that looks like wood against wood.
Yeah,
and I see people make that mistake all the time because it's kind of trendy, don't you think?
It is. I also kind of advise against doing that.
Definitely.
It really depends on the space and the particular space in the home. what's going to work best, what floor it's going to meet up against.
No, it's true. And you have to think about the entire picture, which is a big part of it. So wood is great. If you're going to do tile, I would say go linear, go big sizes, less grout, less maintenance. And it's sort of counterintuitive. People say, oh, I have a small kitchen, I don't want to do big tile. No, it's actually the opposite, isn't it?
Same thing with bathrooms. We do big tile in bathrooms. It makes the space look bigger.
And then when they're done, people are like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
Because when you demo a space, what happens is it looks smaller. It doesn't look bigger, does it? When you demo a space, especially a small space, people are like, oh my God, it looks smaller. But then you put stuff back into it, and then you have perceived depth.
Right.
So it actually looks bigger when it's done.
Right. Even floor to ceiling tile in a bathroom.
Right.
A small bathroom makes it look bigger. You'd think it was the opposite.
No, it's exactly that. The bathroom that I was working on this week we took sometimes in older houses, and I don't know if you have this in your new house, they have sort of just a little sort of a lip where the shower is, where it kind of comes down a little bit. Popping that out and then tile to the ceiling, oh my God, it doubles the size.
We just did the same thing this week too. The same house, we're doing the floor to ceiling tile.
Yes, and it's
large brick tile, and it looks huge.
It's a world of difference.
Yeah, it looks huge. Frameless shower doors, glass so you can see in, and the whole room looks bigger.
Terrific. So we've kind of covered the floors. Let's talk about lower cabinets.
Okay.
Are you a fan of splitting up the type, shape, or color of top cabinets as opposed to lower cabinets?
Usually not.
Tell me why. I'm surprised.
In the case that I just mentioned, the top cabinets, it's a very open space, and they don't really connect throughout the whole room.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't work.
So there's an easy separating point
already. So you want to have continuity.
Right.
Oh, I get that. Sure.
If you have, let's say, an entire U shape with cabinetry, and you're splitting it up, and the crown molding's wrapping around, then you have different color crowns meeting each other.
It's too disconnected.
It's awkward,
right?
It's awkward. It has, like you said in the very beginning, you said it's all about balance. So if you're doing 50% of the base is one color, and then the other half of the kitchen, another 50% up high, another color, it's awkward to me.
Sure.
And then you have tall cabinets, you have a refrigerator, and then you have a pantry. So what do you do that in?
Because you're navigating other things.
The same color as the top, and then it's tough. It's to me sometimes too many colors in one space.
Sure, and then your eye is distracted.
Confusing. Yeah. Yes.
No, I very much agree. What I do probably most often is have all the cabinets, uppers and lowers, in the same, and then the break is in the island.
That we do. Yeah, I don't know if that's what you meant, but
no, I meant when you did. Let's say you did a small kitchen. The top would be white shaker, and the bottom would be navy shaker. Or the top would be white, and the bottom would be cherry, but the same style cabinet.
It works sometimes, but it depends on how the design is going to lay out.
Right, and the layout of the whole space.
Balance is very important.
But I do find that I like a lot to break it up with the island, right? Because it's its own vehicle. Here's also my rule of thumb: if you're doing a countertop surface, I don't like, and I see this a lot now, I'm seeing that people, let's say their perimeter is all white shaker cabinets, and their island is a dark charcoal gray. They also change the countertop on the island. I don't love that. I like either the island is different, but the continuity is with the countertop,
right?
Or vice versa.
Right.
Not that it's too much. Now, how do you feel about that?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Completely.
Right, but because then I think there's no you have to have individuality, but it has to be connected some way, because as you say, you're dealing with appliances, refrigerator, sink. There's so many cuts in that you make it look like it's together. So let's talk about countertop surfaces, because I think a lot of people are confused. The difference between granite, which I was in the 21 years ago, all I did was granite. People were going from Corian to granite, to today where people seem to be going towards not granite anymore. They're more going towards other surfaces other than granite. What surface do you like better for kitchens?
Well, I like to think of it in 3 different categories, 3 different options.
Sure.
There's granite, which is a natural stone.
And still very much around.
Still around.
Right.
Still great. Still pretty much almost maintenance-free for countertops.
Right.
There's quartzite, which is also a natural stone.
Right.
And then there's engineered quartz, which is an engineered stone.
Sure.
So granite is about 70-ish% quartzite. Which the quartzite in it is what makes it non-porous.
Right.
So the rest of it the rest of other rock that's mixed in that give it the natural look.
It is porous.
It could be different varying degrees of being a little bit porous, which is why you really should seal it.
Right.
If you have it in your home.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a great surface.
It is.
Quartzite is also a natural stone,
right?
And it looks a little bit more like marble. It's a beautiful stone.
I love quartzite,
but it's not as porous as marble is. It's a harder stone.
Right.
So for people that want the marble lighter look, but they want a natural stone, quartzite is really becoming popular. Yeah. It's a very expensive stone.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful. If you can do it sparingly, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Right.
And then engineered quartz is used with rock. It's like 99% quartzite. So that's that harder rock that's going to be non-porous.
Right.
But the pattern is man-made.
It's manufactured.
It's a manufacturing pattern.
So you're going to get a consistent look.
Yes, it's more consistent. And there's tons of manufacturers and tons of colors and always coming out with new colors.
Why do you think people are just gravitating towards quartz now? Because they just feel like there's no maintenance?
I think that's a factor.
Okay.
I think it's really popular on HGTV, so I think that's always going to
because they're hearing the buzzword quartz,
right? I think it's easier to pick out because we have it in our showroom.
Right.
If you're picking a natural stone, you have to go to the actual.
Well, that was the thing. That was our day trip out, which people love because you can't say this is what I'm going to get. You have to go take your slabs.
You have to look at the slab.
With quartz, you don't have to because you have the consistency of the sample.
Right. Exactly.
I will tell you this, though, to be honest with you, Jess. I think that this whole thing about the maintenance for having a granite. I mean, what's sealing? It's nothing.
It's nothing. And a
go,
lot of the time, you don't even really have to do it.
You could go years in between. Nothing happens.
Right. Right.
Let's talk a little bit about marble, because I do have the client here or there that wants to at least have some marble on their island. What do you think about marble as a surface? You know, if you're a baker, marble's a wonderful surface to bake on.
It is. It's a beautiful stone, but it's tough for us to recommend it because if someone does want marble, we have to tell them most likely it's going to stain.
It's going to stain.
You're going to get stains in it.
But you know, that in itself could have its own beauty, though, right?
It could.
Yes,
it could.
Exactly.
As long as our client is aware, totally 100% the expectations. I mean, it's a gorgeous stone.
It really is.
But I find that a lot of people are very concerned with the maintenance. So a lot of the time they end up with something that.
With only about 3 minutes left, I want to get to some other things. Okay. Backsplashes. Because I think backsplashes, you could go crazy with backsplash, and I think you go very simply with backsplash. Your thoughts, what do you like?
Honestly, I don't like backsplashes that are too busy.
I agree 1,000%.
So I like it to accent the kitchen, but I don't like it to be the focal point.
Exactly. You know what I tell people? Very simple, linear. You could do 3x6, you could do a 4x10, you could just do a simple, either stacked or, subway pattern. Then you put a beautiful platter in front of it.
And it's classic.
Right? You can change out your look. It stands the test of time.
I like to, if there's going to be some sort of a design behind a range, accent design, you can change the pattern, you can do a border in the same color.
Right.
So you have the detail in the pattern, but not necessarily you don't really need too much color in the backsplash.
No, I agree. It should be as neutral as possible. I wish people would learn that.
I know.
I remember one lady 21 years ago, she's like, I brought these tiles back from Italy, one's eggplant. I said, oh my God, we're going to take that. We're going to be scraping that off in 5 years. And sure enough, the 5th year we were scraping it off. So keep it simple. And finally, I wanted to talk to you about lighting. What about lighting in a kitchen? Things that you like, under counter light perhaps, task lighting, pendants. Pendants are the rage now in kitchens.
Definitely under cabinet lighting. That's going to shine down on the counters.
LED?
Mostly, we're mostly doing LED. That's popular. I think it's nice if you have a glass cabinet to do light inside that cabinet if you want to show off what's in there.
Sure.
Make sure you have glass shelves because you want the light to kind of shine through, illuminate the whole cabinet. Carry through. Yeah, that's a really nice accent.
And what about pendants? Aren't pendants great
Pendants
now?
are great. That'll add to whatever. That'll define your style.
I think so.
It's like part of the jewelry that you're adding to an outfit, basically.
But even it's funny that even some of the pendants now that are so industrial still work with traditional. It's kind of like a mix up. It's kind of cohesive. They can really work, but it does determine sort of the overall look of the kitchen. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I want you, before we're almost in the last minute, tell us a little bit again, the name of your company, where you're located, and how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, my company name is Signature Kitchens.
Signature Kitchens.
We're located in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and also in Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
Sure.
You can Google Signature Kitchens Hawthorne or Signature Kitchens Point Pleasant, and they can find us to get in touch with us.
And also finally a phone number.
Phone number is 973-427-7966.
Well, terrific. Thank you so much for being my guest. It was
Thank you.
It was sort of
Thanks for having me.
serendipitous,
Yeah,
right? It was
fun.
serendipitous that we were able to do this today and
Definitely.
really put something together. I think you have a keen observation of kitchens and what's trending, but also what I was very impressed with is you really go back to what I say is that simplicity is always best, especially when you're spending money on something. So a kitchen should be well thought out, right? But it also, the surfaces should be practical enough to stand the test of time, because a kitchen needs to be as functional as it is beautiful.
Right, exactly.
Right? Definitely.
Well put.
Yeah. And then finally, paint color, right? You can always zhuzh up a little bit at the end with paint color. Your kitchen, what color are you going to paint it at the? You think?
Oh, I don't know yet. I don't know. There's too many
options.
I know all the combinations, so it's going to
Yeah.
be even harder for me to decide.
I love grays with a little bit blue, but that's my own thing. Grays and blues I love together. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.